Edge Radio.
Good evening, everyone. This is Wayne Brown on the Talkie Talkie Show. And you don't have to put up with just me this week. I've got myself a lovely guest. I've asked a friend of mine, Joe, to come in and we're going to have a chat about various things. So I'll hand it over to Joe so she can introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Wayne.
Hi.
I would like to let you know that actually I've changed my business name.
You did?
So my business name was Heal to Heal, but it's now Beyond Horizon Healing.
Nice.
And so the thing behind the name is we go beyond the horizon, beyond what we can see to heal, because I wanted to embrace all of the things that I'm offering now, which is more than reflexology. It's Reiki, it's wellness workshops, it's the Zazen water, and last year I became a chakra dance facilitator.
I saw that. Very nice.
And I'm loving the chakra dance facilitation. So I'm really looking for that to grow and more people to come along, enjoy the actual chakra dance and the transformations that come from that afterwards as well.
Excellent.
People are seeing some, as they come along to a few different ones, they start to see the differences. Yeah.
Excellent.
It's wonderful.
All right. So when I've been asking people to come onto the show, I send them a series of questions, as I did to Joe, and she goes through and picks out some that we can use as starting points for our conversation. So one of the ones that Joe selected, she picked a few because she's greedy, and that's a good thing because we like to explore lots of things.
Greedy or abundant?
So the first question she wants to do is, what does abundance actually feel like? So we thought we'd explore that because everyone tends to think of abundance as just money. So how would you define it, Joe?
I would say abundance is about having a lot of whatever it is. And it's not just about money. Having an abundance, you could have an abundance of time, you could have an abundance of space. But I think a lot of people, when they say they want abundance, and actually that's one of our oils called abundance, but they think it's equivalent to money, and it's not necessarily that way. There's a lot of mental money blocks we need to actually look at and change, and that for the money to flow through. And there's other actions that need to be taken as well. So,
I know we spoke earlier in the year and you recommended a book to me and I went and bought that book.
Oh, what book was that? Remind me.
You Love Money and Money Loves You, that one? I can't remember the lady's name. But anyway, I went and read it and it's a really good book. So would you agree that if people are focusing on money in terms of abundance, would you say they would need to dig deeper and find out what the money means? Then they can focus on that to get a better result?
Oh, most definitely, because the money, if you're only focusing your life on money, how empty is your life going to become? All of the values and the enrichment and the relationships and the friendships and the following interests and exploring other interests and developing and learning about all the other things that this world has to offer, you're very limiting yourself if you're only looking at money.
Yeah. No, lost that thought. It'll come back. Very professional. We were actually discussing before we came on air and Joe was asking me, what do you do if you make a mistake? And I'm like, you go with it. We're all human. So I know for myself, I would like to have an abundance of money. And that's only because there's certain things I want to make an impact with in the world. So for me, I've had to dig deeper as to what that means so that I can chase that value rather than the money, because the money's a means. So,
and I think the feeling part of having abundance is working out, okay, why you want that money, and then bringing that through. So how is it going to feel when you have that money to be able to make whatever your vision or goal happen? And it's that feeling that you're after. And then what happens is the money comes.
Right. Okay. So for you, what abundance are you chasing? Because I know you do your Reiki, reflexology, the Zazen water, all of these things. So obviously you're very health focused in that regard. So you're obviously looking for an abundance of health. Which is a good thing, because if you don't have your health, you don't have much.
I would say that I'm at the point where I'm looking for an abundance of clients.
Mm-hmm.
So that I'm making a bigger impact on helping people find their wellness and live that wellness lifestyle. Part of what I see as the new world that's slowly starting to happen across the world.
Mm-hmm.
And there is some creep happening through. A lot more people are becoming aware of what their medicine really is, and that is in their food, the quality of food that they're eating, the quality of drink that they're actually putting in their bodies. And that comes with a whole mindset, and socially, that impact of social mentality of how people actually speak to one another and what they're speaking about, that makes a difference as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, that abundance is going to come through. I was one of the recent things that was said to me was that a rising tide rises all boats, or something. It's very similar to that.
I remember hearing that.
A rising
It
tide
affects
raises all boats, because they
Yes.
have to lift up. So as we all start to jump on board, that tide's coming anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's all going to rise.
Okay, so if you were talking to, one of our listeners, and they were asking you, how do I build my abundance? Where would you get them to start? I mean, what was your journey with abundance?
I think you really have to dig deep and think about what it is, what are your values, what it is that you're wanting to achieve, and making sure that the things that you're doing are aligned with who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of people do tend to focus on the money side. Do you believe there's something that might be a foundation towards working towards your money, like peace of mind, or, an abundance of calmness or control of your emotions, or that sort of abundance? Would you say that builds a foundation of moving easier towards money? Whatever that represents.
I think once you have got a money flow coming through and you're using some of that money to make more money as a proportion of that to invest, and you've got that money working for you, certainly helps to ease financial stress that can otherwise come if you haven't got enough. And I think that a lot of people get bogged down in getting into doing the everyday things so that they can just make it through paying for the very basics of food, water, all of the taxes, whatever bills we have to pay if we want to have electricity and running water and gas, and if we want to have those things, apparently we have to pay for them. A roof over our head, all that sort of thing. People do get very tunnel visioned around doing their work so that that's all they're focused on. But sometimes they're forgetting to go on a trip and have a holiday, and there's so much personal growth that can come from that, and relaxing in doing that as well.
All right. Yeah. So I know for myself, whenever I'm having these sorts of conversations, my brain's always jumping all over the place. Still listening, but my brain, I don't know, maybe I've got ADHD or so, I don't know. Anyway.
We shouldn't be clinicalizing who we actually are.
No,
but anyhow.
I'm just me.
That's another issue. That's another one.
But would you say a good tool to help with abundance is gratitude? Like if you sit there and have appreciation for the money you've got in the bank, the partner that you've got that supports you and cares for you, your health, do you think that would be inclined to give you more of that abundance? I'm just trying to think of, tools for people to use.
I know that there's a lot of people who do say that there is a correlation between the gratitude and the abundance.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have experienced gratitude more as it's about who you are and how you're feeling. So people might throw, I'm so grateful for that around. And maybe they are, but sometimes there's not the substance of actually really appreciating that And it's perhaps that feeling of appreciation gives you that authenticity.
Right.
And that adds the enrichment into your life, really.
Right. So you got to be authentic behind the gratitude rather than just saying I'm grateful.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Because I know that's one of the things where in the past I haven't had that gratitude, but I know when I start thinking about things more and more, where I'm just like, you know what? And in fact, it's one of the things that annoyed my wife for a while. She would go, "How you doing?" And I'd go, "I'm mostly good." And she'd be like, what do you mean mostly good? And I'm like, well, I'm clothed and I'm fed, I'm healthy, I'm employed, I've got money, got a roof over my head, I've got people that care about me. There's a couple of things that are bugging me, but mostly I'm good. So whenever I say that, I'm reminding myself I've got a hell of a lot to be grateful for. So I like to think that's feeding into my abundance. It seems to be. So,
and I'll also wonder if you practice being grateful, if that the practice of being grateful leads to more, then I would say yes.
Yeah. I mean, I don't
leads to
sit there
more of what more flowing in as to what it is you're wanting to achieve.
Yeah. I mean, I don't sit there and, do gratitude exercises where you write them out,
Mm.
but I do look at things and go, I'm glad I've got that in my life,
Yeah.
so it does make a difference.
I do actually think being grateful can help ease anxiety. So if you start, anxiety is quite often worrying about the future. Sorry, I've digressed a bit, but gratitude, if you pull in, come back and say to yourself, okay, what am I grateful for today? And that is, I'm fed, I've got good food, I'm clothed, I've got a roof over my head. Thank God the air conditioner's working and the electricity hasn't gone off as it can do in Perth.
Yeah.
In particular areas, it can just black out. And if we are grateful for those things and just bringing it back into today, it stops the worry of tomorrow. And so it dissipates that anxiousness and anxiety. That gratitude can then free you up to focus on all of the other good things that can then start to come in.
Okay.
And so, that can lead then to more abundance.
Nice. And I've just noticed we've got a comment there from Damien. He said, when I grew up, we were poor and Granddad taught me you have to hustle, meaning move to your goal. I like that. And that's true. You've got to have goals. You've got to have something to move towards. I think when people are moving towards goals, and I'm guessing you'll probably agree with this, if you don't have those little moments of gratitude and where you stop and go, wow, look how much I've achieved, because we often think, oh, look how far I've got to go, rather than look how far I've come. And I know for myself, I look back on my journey and I almost don't recognize myself, because I've come that far. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty happy where I'm going, but I'll certainly appreciate what I've been through.
And it's extremely important to make those checkpoints in and check in and realise it within yourself that you have actually gone from there to there. And it is important to actually, especially on those days where you feel like you're not actually going forward, to check in, well, how far have you actually come? Because part of that transformation of going towards abundance or receiving abundance is actually going along that road and making that checkpoint, recognizing where you have actually shifted and what has actually happened from outside of your life as well. That's where chakra dance is amazing, because you don't have to think about it, because it's true embodiment. You just do the chakra dance, and the energy, the sound of the music of the chakra dance, it all just takes care of it. And the transformations just start to happen. There's also a visualization part of it as well, so you can attract in that abundance. And after the chakra dance, transformations start to happen, and it's beautiful because you don't actually have to do all of the thinking, which we can do the overthinking, and we can and it can stop us. It's that saying of how we can get it in our own way. And I most definitely have done that.
I can see you like that chakra dance, because you just lit up then as you were describing it.
I love it so much. I can't even, words don't really describe how transformative and magical it really is. Yeah.
Nice.
It gives you the opportunity to just really connect within and move to how your body is ready to move as well in a safe space where, yeah, it's great.
Yeah. And a question, not a question, something that just popped into my head because of Damien's comment there about the moving toward a goal. Would you say it'd be a good thing to do each day to do like that mini appreciation, like a micro goal? Because I can't remember the book, but it was written by an ex-army general or something, and he said one of the first things you should do in the morning is make your bed, because if you're someone who's struggling, that's one thing you've ticked off. You know, I've made my bed, yes, and it's like a mini goal. So I think
I remember reading something about him as well. I know we've read a lot of common things.
Yeah, we do.
Because there was a period of time of years where I wasn't making my bed, and it was related to if you make your bed, you become more productive. And it really works.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
Yeah, it is. Because now if I make my bed every day again now, because there was a period of time where I grew up having to, and then I wasn't, and then I have now again, and I'm achieving a lot more during the day because I've made my bed.
Yeah, I think it does set up that, you know, I've done, even unconsciously you go, I've achieved something. So I like to go, yes, I've eaten breakfast. Yes, I've washed my face. So, I mean, it does set up that bit of momentum.
A bit more, yeah.
So I think that's important if you're working towards a goal or abundance or whatever.
And it is important to celebrate those little things that you go through. Yeah. And if you're starting out with a goal and you are at that point of writing down all of the steps in between, then it is important to tick them off and keep working at it, and just do one little bit each day towards it, and eventually then you'll get it, and then you just keep on going. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Travis. It's very nice of you. You never make your bed, Travis. I'm shocked. Okay, so
it sounds like it's time for him to start.
I'm surprised your wife lets you get away with that, although she probably makes the bed. Should we try another question? Another one of your questions?
Sure.
Or are you happy to keep exploring abundance?
No, I'm happy to move on.
Oh, we can always come back to it. I mean, hey, it's my show. We can do what we want, really.
Okay.
Our next one is, can you set boundaries without feeling like a jerk? Now, I know in the past I've struggled with boundaries, you know, trying to get people to treat me with decency and all of this sort of thing. So I had trouble voicing it and standing firm on it. So it wasn't even setting it. It was just going, hey, you've crossed a boundary.
Yeah. I think that question, there's two different answers.
Lovely.
Because there's a set of answers for people who you've already know, your family, your parents, your siblings, the people you've grown up with, your cousins, your friends that you've grown through. And so there's that group of people. And then there's meeting new people. The meeting new people, it's a lot easier to set boundaries with new people because they don't know what boundaries you had before. So they're a great group of people to test it out on.
Oh, okay.
Test out your boundaries with new people because they don't know you any other way. You get to be who you want to be with boundaries that you've never had before, and just see how they go. Setting boundaries with people that you've already got established relationships with, that brings up a lot of different feelings and, guilt, shame. Do you feel like a jerk? Resetting them, fear, the fear in that. Are they still going to accept me, love me? Are they still going to be my friend? How are they going to be as my mom, as my dad, as my brother, as my sister? Well, you actually don't really know until you put it in place.
Okay.
But if it's a healthier boundary and they really do love you, they will accept it, and you'll feel the space in the relationship, and it will shift into a healthier one that it needs to be.
Right. So I know boundaries is probably something that a lot of the people watching would be struggling with, and I know, like I said, I certainly did. what sort of, I don't know if you struggled with boundaries. We have talked a little bit about it.
My boundaries are arguably been too much the other way.
Right. Too militant.
Like
you will obey.
Strict the other way, as in I won't let people in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the opposite of,
right.
Yeah, arguably.
Okay. All right. So what was the biggest thing you had to learn in regard to letting people in so you could practice setting your boundaries?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we'll start nice and fluffy and we'll get into the meaty stuff.
I think the first thing would be, for me personally, of going in and really trusting my ability to discern who is safe to let in and who is not safe to let in.
Oh, yeah, good point. Nice.
And I'm talking about new people. I'm not talking about family and friends you grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
So with new people, because I guess that feeds into my experience of, I moved to Perth over 20 years ago. So when I moved to Perth, everybody was new. So I went through this incredible time of trying to figure out whether people who was to be trusted and who weren't to be trusted.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first moved to Perth, I really thought I was moving to the same country from Melbourne. And honestly, it was so different here.
Yeah.
It was so different here that I was confused for very many years. And I didn't have anybody that I knew who had already moved here to be able to talk things out with.
Right.
So it's been a years of contemplation on my own of trying to figure it all out.
Right.
And part of that discernment was like, well, I had that discernment when I was in Melbourne, and I knew where to put people, and I knew all of that. But here in Perth, the people are so different. Different ways of thinking. They're a lot more open with their hearts. But that probably feeds into the lack of boundaries for a proportion of people here in Perth. That's what I've observed, is that healthy. I've always had this saying is healthy relationships, healthy boundaries. But I've observed a lot of families here in Perth who don't necessarily have those healthy boundaries, and therefore not necessarily those healthy relationships that can come from that as well.
All right. Well, Travis put a comment up, and we'll get to that in a second, but I just wanted to ask you, when you were trying to discern who to let in, did you just use your gut? Did you have a series of questions that you tested them with? Did you give them like a moral test to see, which way they would go decision-wise?
For me, I just have to stand back and listen. They get 5 seconds and they're going to show me who they are really fast.
Okay.
And that's when I will make up my decision. And if I walk away and disengage without a word of anything, I won't say anything. In a social situation, that's what I will do, is I will just walk away and I'll just go, I'm just not going to engage.
So you still use that same method, or have you refined it over your 20 years of dealing with us Perthites?
I think that I still probably use that same method because I'm all about healing, not bringing harm. And I don't want to risk saying the wrong thing, so therefore I'll say nothing.
Yep.
Rightly or wrongly. I'm starting to speak out a little bit more, but the people have shifted. The consciousness in Perth has shifted. And probably because as I've moved more and more into my own healing work and facilitating that as well, I'm meeting more people who are also doing their inner work, and that makes a massive difference.
Right. Do you think there's more of them, or do you think you're just more open to them and you're attracting them, or?
I would like to think that there's more of them.
Nice answer, because that's exactly what I think. It's like I hope there's more of them becoming better.
There's more to come.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to come in, but yeah, I really hope that there is more people who have already stepped in. Yeah. And Perth, we've always been the most isolated city in the world, and we always will be. And there's pros and cons to that.
Absolutely.
One of those cons is arguably actually the rest of the world's consciousness is arguably more expansive and how do I put it? More expanded and broad-minded. But having said that, I haven't been overseas for a long time. I'm only really saying that as my observation and experience with people who have moved from over there to Perth.
Right.
And I will have a lot of my clients are actually people from other places.
Right.
I don't have many Western Australians as my clients. When I say Western Australians, I mean born and grown up here.
Yeah. Well, I know we do have more and more people moving from overseas, so the percentage of us that are born and raised here are becoming less.
Yeah, well, that must be quite intimidating at some point as well. Do you think?
Well, I suppose it depends on how open you are to other cultures, and that might be something we can explore one day.
Yeah, that's a whole other
topic
actually.
So, but I want
especially out my way where I live, I'm noticing huge amounts.
Traditionally, out your way, there was lots of the old market gardeners, so they were all Greeks and Lebanese and Italians and all of those sort of Mediterranean countries. So,
well, there's a lot of Indian people that have moved out there now.
Oh, okay.
And the Italians are selling up to the Indians, so some of the businesses are changing from the Italian ways to the Indian ways, and it's.
No, I'm just thinking
that's
a
how
shame.
I feel. It's the look on your face. It's so sad.
No.
I feel really sad about that because the Italian influence into our Australian culture for me is so valued.
Yeah.
And it's really sad to see that, I feel that disappearing. Because I think that, I mean, I was born in Australia. My family's English-Irish. But we've all had that Lebanese, Italian, Croatian influence, through into our culture growing up. So it's kind of sad to see that reducing. However, the cultural changes that are coming in with the Africans and the Indians and that's coming in, that's just going to give Australia a different flavour to the culture that's being built.
But we might have to do a second show on that one, I think. But I wanted to get to what Travis said, because this is something I know I've had challenges with, and I know a lot of people do. I speak to people reasonably regularly about this. And Travis asked or said some of the most dangerous people to let in are actually family members and the obligations that family connections hold. That's a lot. I mean, there's only a few words there, but that's a lot to unpack.
And I would when I was working mental health, I would encourage people to temporarily cut that family member to give themselves space. My intention was to give themselves space from that family connection, to give them the opportunity to find who they are without that obligation and without that influence. It also helps to, when you let that person back into your life, to have that resetting of boundaries becomes quite automatic because you have found out who you want to be without that connection. And when you interact with that person again, you can change the rules on how that's going to be with who you are now, with the growth that you've had. But those family obligations and connections, you have to become financially independent from the family to be able to give yourself that freedom
Yeah, and that is a tough one because you've got all of those unconscious contracts that you sign with them. You know, I'll behave this way so you can have this and feel safe and all of this. So if you go and try and honour your boundary, you could be going against that unspoken contract that you've got with them. You know, like you get a lot of people, they become adults and their parents are still treating them like children. You know, it's like, Mum, I'm 34 years old, you know. It's that sort of.
Does that ever stop?
It can. It can.
Okay.
And
yeah, no, I should.
and
actually,
it should. And it is a hard one because a lot of people, they've invested a hell of a lot of time in their kids. And so they don't want anything to happen to them because, you know, you feel bad. However.
But that's part of their personal growth as well, isn't it?
Exactly. You've got to let them go out and make the mistakes.
Is actually allowing that child, having that child-parent relationship to move from child-parent, parent-teenager to then adult, and allowing the relationship to grow whilst the person grows it developmentally as well, both the parent and the child. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is actually, if that growth can happen, and I have actually got a relationship that did that, and it was probably my most cherished relationship was with my grandmother. And we grew from that grandparent to baby, you know, to child, grandparent, and then eventually we were the adult, and then we were always grandmother, granddaughter. However, we grew into friends.
Oh, nice.
And it was beautiful because I became curious as an adult. Well, when she was that particular age, what was happening for her in that time? And when we started to be able to have those conversations, we grew into friendship. It was absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I know that one of the criticisms or that I hear about is a lot of parents want to be their friend to their teenage kid.
Like that one gets me.
And it's quite dysfunctional stage of their growth for a parent to want to be the friend to the teenager because the teenager needs the parent to be the parent.
Absolutely.
And it's actually not it's not actually, now I've said it out loud, it's not actually the right stage to be becoming the friend because you have to get to the point of the parent and the child being adults and allow then the friendship to develop later.
Yeah, I've always said you shouldn't be trying to be friends with your teenager or your child. You can be friendly.
Yes.
But you don't be friends. No. You don't go hanging out with them.
Because you need to be a parent.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
and the child needs the parent.
Okay, so you've obviously been a child and had a parent, same as I have. What were the boundaries like with your parents, as in the boundaries that they set that you had to honour and the boundaries that you tried to set and they had to honour? You know, like, this is my bedroom, knock before you come in, all of that sort of stuff. Did you have good boundaries or was yours a little bit?
Well, very different, actually.
I know it might be a bit personal, but I'm just trying to see if we can get information for everyone listening.
What I'm comfortable with answering as well.
Well, you don't have to. I mean,
I grew up with a single mum. So my boundaries with my dad were actually very different to my boundaries with my mum.
Okay.
I feel like the boundaries that my dad set with me, particularly when I was going through my teenage years, were healthy. With my mum, I'm not really comfortable going there.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
So, yeah, because that was not a good example of how things can go.
Okay, so knowing all the stuff that you've studied and learned and everything, because you're like myself, we've both been on this getting to become a better version of ourselves journey for quite some time. So if we've got a young person listening in at the moment and they're having troubles with their parent who's not honouring their boundaries, whether it's don't go through my phone or any of that sort of stuff, what sort of tips would you give to them?
Okay, so it can be very difficult when that parent's overstepping the boundaries and not confronting that the child is growing up, and they can be suppressing the child from pushing back out, so the tantrums can come and the arguments and the yelling and the screaming. I think ideally it would be great if it's at all possible to sit down and have a conversation with them. But that also requires the parent to be able to listen. And if the parent's not going to do their responsibility of listening, then it can be difficult for the child to speak.
Right.
If they've got the opportunity to speak to the other parent, perhaps that conversation can happen, and then that parent can go in to the other parent and have that conversation almost on behalf of the child, but perhaps not in the presence of the child. It kind of depends on how old they are.
Oh, so you mean like get the one that's more likely to be on side with you to listen, and then they can go and sort of summarise it to the other parent.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the delicate part of that is you don't want the child playing mum off against dad, or dad off against mum, likewise, because you need to have the cohesion between the parents.
Yes.
Ultimately. So that's where that conversation can then be happening between the two parents, ideally in a separate room from the child. But maybe if the teenager is more comfortable to talk to dad than mum, then dad can perhaps talk to mum at another space and time.
So would you have any tools or tips that they could use? Because I know you could probably do like pre-framing, where you sit down with them and you go, look, I need to tell you something. However, it's really difficult for me to say. So I would appreciate if you could let me just get it out, even though it might not come out properly.
Yeah.
And let me just explore it, because I really need to say this. Yeah. Would you say things like pre-framing would be good? And would you have any other tools that they could use?
I think that's fantastic, but it depends on how you've developed your relationship in the first place.
Yes. Or not, as the case may be.
Yeah. Absolutely. So really that's where it's going to come down to the quality of relationship that you've already developed.
Yeah.
And what the circumstances were as around you coupling and having children. Those situations influence quite heavily on the quality of relationship and your ability to communicate, the resetting of boundaries.
Yeah.
Ability to do that as well. Yeah. And my mind is really thinking of the dysfunctional sector of our society. It does seem to be too prevalent. It's very complex. You can't just unravel it. In an ideal world, you've got people who are coupling consciously, having children, quite consciously and choosing that, and then perhaps they've had parenting conversations and before that the child comes along, and the development of the relationship with the child happens in utero. It's already beginning at that point. So, and that because that lays the groundwork for the rest to come. And kudos to all those parents who go and get help and learn and find out new skills.
Absolutely.
Because that's what's needed more and more. Yeah.
Yeah.
You help with all of those things, don't you?
Yeah. And only because there's lots of things that I've learnt that I've utilised.
Yeah.
Like that pre-framing one is I've had to use that with family members and friends and all of that sort of thing. So beforehand, you just put some thought into what's the outcome I want. Do I want them to just listen to me? Do I want to start a dialogue? Do I want to get their advice on something on how they would fix this? So I put a lot of thought into how I would pre-frame it before I go and deliver it. And while you were talking, as my brain does, I had a memory pop in. My ex-wife, I had the sneaking suspicion that she had a lot of stuff she needed to say, but she couldn't just sit down and talk. She had to yell and scream and all of this sort of thing, as I did as well. So this one particular day, I took this tool that I had learnt. It's called a whiffle stick.
Okay, I've heard of the wiffle stick.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So for people that don't know, I learned this one years ago. A wiffle stick is WIFLE, and it stands for what I feel like expressing. And how it works is, let's say we wanted to have a conversation where we needed to get comfortable with A, shutting up and listening, and B, being able to talk uninterrupted. So you just pick anything and you call it your wiffle stick. And whoever's holding the wiffle stick, they're allowed to talk completely uninterrupted. And then once you've said everything you need to say, you go, and that's what I feel like expressing. And then you give the wiffle stick to the other person and then they can respond. So I gave this wiffle stick to my ex-wife, and for like 3/4 of an hour, she was just like, and just going. And I was just like, wow, she's got a lot of stuff. And when she was finished, she goes, and that's what I feel like expressing. And she put the wiffle stick down and I just went, okay, cool, and walked away because I thought, no, you just needed to be heard. So I thought, no, I'll just give her that gift of just shutting up and listening.
And, it's quite often that's what needs to happen is as women, we just need to be heard. There doesn't need to be a response.
Yeah, but
quite often it's just,
we can't help it though. We've got to fix.
It's just letting it out.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's verbal diarrhea and it's just coming out. And it just needs to be out of the body and expressed, and there doesn't need to be a response.
Yeah.
And that can be one of the hardest things for men because you just want to fix everything.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So understanding that for men to know, okay, well, I just need to listen right now, and that's it. That is the fixing. That is the fixing, but it's hard. I understand that. Yeah, but for men to learn that and to develop into that and feel comfortable in that, it's just practice, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's
practice like anything else. It's practicing a skill. We're not born with these skills. We have to practice them.
Yeah. Damn this practice. Why can't we just get it all fully formed?
I've got a question about the wiffle stick.
I'll go for it.
Are you allowed to snatch it from each other?
No.
Okay.
Because then it's punching on and it sort of defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
And, not a good thing.
Yeah.
I did find, though, having the mentality of the wiffle sticks and not actually using it, but for myself being able to, when I was exploring, being able to verbalise my boundaries and telling people they've crossed them, was being able to just talk. And I knew that what I initially said wouldn't come out correctly. It wouldn't be exactly what I wanted to say. But if I could just get them to shush and not try and respond or correct me or anything, I could then explore it and go, oh, no, what I mean is this. And so eventually I'd get enough words out that I'd go, no, this is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
And it's, it's taken me a long time, but I'm getting to the point now where the initial thing I say tends to be fairly correct.
Yeah.
Not always, but fairly.
Yeah.
But that makes it easier to go, you know what, a boundary's been crossed here. I'm not feeling valued, respected, appreciated, whatever it is. And that's I may as well come clean and tell people about one of my big boundaries is when I had partners in the past, I would do most of the cooking, I'd do the shopping, I'd pay most of the bills and all of this sort of thing. And it was only years later that I did a little quiz thing and I found out that one of the things I like to do is to spoil partners by doing all of these things, the cooking and all of this. So when I met my wife, having learned that that was a boundary I needed to set, as I said to her, look, I'm happy to do all of these things, but every now and then I'd like you to go, you know what, thanks for that. So every morning I make her a coffee and when I give it to her, she's like, thank you. And I'm like, no worries. And it's just nice. It's that little appreciation. Like I might be washing the dishes and she'll come up and just give me a hug and I'm like, and it's those sort of things where I now benefit because I had the courage to go, no, my boundaries need to be honoured.
I love that you were able to ask for that.
Oh, it took a lot.
Nice, yes.
It took a lot.
A lot of courage to be able, and working through within yourself, oh, that's what it is that I want.
Yeah, exactly.
And then being able to express that and tell the other person that that's what it is. They love you so they can give it back to you.
Yeah.
But if we can't ask for that, but we need to feel safe to be out with each other
Absolutely.
to be able to do that.
Yeah, and what you said earlier about the when you voice your boundaries or stand firm on them, you don't know whether they're going to reject you or attack you or value you still, or
it's scary.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's scary. It is. But you've got to face your fear and do it anyway.
Yeah.
There's a book about that. I highly recommend it.
We can recommend lots of books.
Yeah.
So, and I found that a lot of the times they didn't react the way I thought they would.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Yeah, like
they don't. All your fears never come to fruition. Something else might happen.
Yeah.
But what you were really afraid of, that's not necessarily the thing that actually happens.
Yeah. I know. You think they're going to get upset and then they just go, oh, okay. And you're just like, oh, is that it?
Yeah.
You almost feel let down. It's like the anticlimax. It's like, we're meant to fight and argue. What are you doing?
Yeah. Or relief. You can just breathe and go, oh, that was so much less than what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. And the other thing is sometimes when people tell you their boundaries that you've crossed them, you're not even aware that you've crossed them. So that's the problem. A lot of the time we don't verbalize them. We don't set them, especially with those people we've known for years and years and built that history with. Like you said, it is easier with the people you just meet. The hard one's getting it voiced with the people you care about.
Yeah.
But I like to think.
But if they really care about you, they're going to meld and adjust.
Yeah.
Like none of us, we're all in relationships to some degree or other, and none of them are perfect. We can't be perfect. And I think that asking for anyone in a relationship to be perfect is not realistic. There needs to be malleability around those things, and there needs to be the opportunity for growth and allowing for that bending and flexing and getting it wrong. We should be allowed to say the wrong thing and apologise and then fix it next time. Go, okay, well, what was that about? Because the skill of self-reflection that we may or may not have learned through school is really valuable, because when you can go, okay, that was not what I meant to say, and reflect on that. If you're with somebody who you're feeling safe with, you can go back and apologise and know that they're not going to come at you, and you're going to actually make that relationship stronger. And that's what builds conflict. Is great if you can resolve it and move through it.
Yeah, but we don't get taught that.
But if we avoid conflict, there's tension and all sorts of things that get mixed, in the mix of a relationship if you don't confront what you need to.
Yeah. And sometimes being able to, like you said, you have that safety and you can go and reflect and come back to it. It's nice when you get to that point. But for a lot of people, and I know for me, it took quite a while before I got to that point where I felt within myself safe enough, confident enough, and have enough trust in them to just shut up and listen. And that's a hard spot to get to initially. But once you get there, like you said, you practice it and it gets easier, and eventually you get to the point where you're just like, you don't have a problem voicing them.
Absolutely. It's the same as writing. If I'm a primary school teacher, and, you get 5-year-olds telling you that they can't write or they can't sound or they can't spell. And it's like, well, you're 5. That's why you're at school. It's but it's the same thing with all the skills. How many kids friends have said to me, oh, I can't do maths. It's like, well, I couldn't do maths either, but I just had to practice it. It's the same thing. You just keep practicing it and you will get better. But you have to have the discipline to keep on going. And we're not born with discipline. That is a skill in itself, and you just keep practicing it. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in regards to the boundaries, because we might try and squeeze in a little more of the next question, with the setting of the boundaries, how would you advise people to recognise when their boundaries have been crossed? Would you say there's any signs that they would look for, particular emotions that would come up?
Their body signs. What is your gut saying? What is your heart saying? You can feel it in your torso somewhere.
Yep.
If something's been crossed, it just doesn't feel right. And then if it hasn't hit clearly into your mental space, you can just go, well, something's not right there. And then you can dig in, self-reflect. Eventually it'll come to you as to what was it that was wrong. Was it being disrespected, or did they try and shame you? Did they try and make you feel guilty about something that's not even yours to feel guilty about? Because projection is a massive thing out there. So many. We all do it. We all do it, even if we don't think we do. And that comes back to just being responsible for you. The more you own who you are and what you do, the less you project, the more you can stop yourself from projecting. And sorry, what was your question about the boundaries? I know I've gone off on a tangent now.
No, that's all right. That's the whole point of this. We go off on tangents. No, it's when people have their boundaries crossed or not honoured, what things would they look for to indicate that has happened so they can do some work and discover it?
So I did answer that question, yeah. So it's about feeling it in your body.
Yep.
And recognising it, and, as whether it's guilt or whether it's shame or whatever. And then if you can, going back to that person and letting them know that wasn't okay. This is, you might not feel able to say you've crossed a boundary or whatever, because that person might not know about them or for whatever reason, but you need to be able to go back and say, well, that wasn't actually okay, and next time we need to be able to do such and such. And if they come back to you and say, oh, I'm sorry about that, well, that makes it easier to then open up the conversation into the next resolution. But otherwise, at least you're respecting yourself and giving yourself the boundary and saying, well, that was not okay. This is what we need to do next time. And don't own the guilt and the shame or the whatever the ill feeling was that they were trying to give you. Don't own it, because it wasn't yours. Put it back to where it was and let the water off the duck's back.
I was about to say, well, let the ducks eat it.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we wind up, because I think we're okay with just the hour?
Yeah.
Because we can always come back and do another one. Because this has been fun. I've enjoyed this. So if anyone's got a comment or a question before we finish, chuck it up in the chat box and we'll answer it as quickly as we can before we go. But I'd like to very quickly have a look at, what are you really saying without saying it? So we've been talking about boundaries and voicing them and explaining that to people. When you're talking to people, like you were saying, when you meet people, you watch what they do and that's how you gauge whether or not you let them in. What other things would you be listening for or looking for rather than just the words they're using?
Wow, that's hard to answer, because we're going into frequency and vibration, and I don't have a lot of word. I don't have a lot of language around that. That's just feelings, and I just have to trust the vibe.
No, but I mean, do you listen to the tone? Do you watch their body language? Because, you get some people, they'll sit there and they'll go, oh, yeah, that's what I reckon. And they've got their hand over their mouth, and body language-wise, they say that's trying to cover up what you're saying. And
yeah, I think, and the tone, what I probably am looking for more is whether people are coming from their heart when they speak, or are they coming too much from their head, and whether they're coming too much from an arrogance or ego, those sorts of things.
Right.
Where are they actually coming from? Are they coming from pure intellect? Is there some humbling of heart space, emotion, and compassion, understanding around what they're saying? When I read that question, what are you really saying without saying it? Straight away I thought about politicians. And diplomacy. Diplomacy is not something I'm good at, nor do I want to develop that skill. I'm very direct about what I say. And you know what? People are just going to have to accept that about me, because it is just how it is. I don't mean harm. Sometimes if you feel harmed or triggered by something I've said, that's actually about you.
Oh, absolutely.
And not about me.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
And that was a hard one to learn for me.
Mm.
If I get upset, that's my thing. That's nothing to do with them. And in fact, I came across one years ago, and it took me ages to accept this one. So when you're pointing a finger at someone and blaming them, bear in mind you've got 3 pointing back at you.
Oh.
And it was like, no, I don't want to take responsibility. I want to blame someone. So yeah, that took a long time to go, damn, it's right.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that. 3 fingers coming back at you.
In other words, more of it's to do with you than
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes people will deliver things in a shitty way, and that's theirs to deal with.
Absolutely.
But if it triggers something in you.
And if they've delivered it in a shitty way, then they open it up for the conversation. To ask some clarifying questions around, well, did you mean by that or whatever, and give the person time and space to be able to do that. And then maybe whatever you were triggered about actually wasn't. You can figure that out later.
Yeah.
Because that's about you, that's personal. You go away and you reflect on that for yourself later on. But if you open that up and explore what's that really about, well, it opens up the conversation anyway, and you get greater understanding from the person anyway. So, yeah.
And that sort of ties in with our boundaries and everything like that, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah. It builds that relationship.
Well, I'll tell you what,
find out whether or not you want to have another conversation with that person anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, true. Yeah. Or you have to get rid of them or cut down on them or something. So I know I've really enjoyed this because I do enjoy when we have had conversations in the past.
I have to.
I think we might have to get you back on.
Okay.
No, if you're up for it. I'm happy.
I'm up for it.
Because we can certainly look at, how do you speak more than just your words, your body language, tone, all of that sort of thing. Because I know for me that was a big one, learning how to talk. People say to me, you have trouble talking? It's like, yeah, I was horrible. I could use lots of words, but I wasn't very good at communicating. So, yeah, it was a big journey for me. Still learning. None of us are perfect. We're all
But that's the whole
practicing.
point, isn't it? It's about growth and developing and, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's
okay,
good.
so no one's put any comments or questions up since I asked for them, so that's all cool. I have set up an email address, so when we're not actually on the air, people can still send through comments or questions or whatever, or subject matter they'd like us to explore. The Talkie Talkie Show at gmail.com if you want to send that through, or you can send it through on the Edge socials. Someone will find it and write it down and pass it on to me. Other than that, do you want to give yourself a final plug before we go and what you do?
Oh, you can find Beyond Horizon Healing, www.beyondhorizonhealing.com.au, and all there is there's a page on reflexology, on Reiki, chakra dance, the Zazen water filters, and the wellness workshops that are available as well. So, yeah.
Busy little bean.
And you can contact me through that as well. That's not a problem. It'd be great to hear from you.
Nice. And that's obviously just for people in Perth. I don't think Joe's quite up to travelling overseas for doing treatments just yet.
No, I'm not doing online energy work. I know people are doing online. And I know chakra dance can be done online as well. It's amazing actually what can come through, but I'm not facilitating online. I'm not sure. I haven't developed into that space yet, and I'm not sure if I have a willing to.
See, you don't want to set a world record for the world's largest attendance of a chakra dance or something?
Oh, actually, at the moment, the next chakra dance, I'll give a plug for Nat, who's the founder of Chakra Dance. She's doing a 7-day chakra dance challenge globally, and she's getting 9,000, 10,000 people globally online at these events. And the next 7-day one's coming up on the 11th of May, I think it is. It's on my website anyway, so you can check it out for 7 days, and you register. It's free. It's a great introduction to what's happening at Chakra Dance, and you can do that and then come along to my event if you're in Perth.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Joe, for being here. It's been an absolute joy. as it always is when we chat.
I've enjoyed it as well. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thanks.
All right, everyone, I hope you've enjoyed this. And next week, it'll be just myself having a chat about whatever I'm going to talk about. Feel free to send through any questions or anything you want me to explore, and I'll do that. And then the following week, I've got Leanne on as a guest. So we'll catch you next Tuesday, not Wednesday, Tuesday. Edge Radio Australia.